design thinking and activism. When I was 16, I washed my dad's Jeep. At the time, his Jeep Cherokee was one of his prized possessions. Every day until he retired, for as long as I can remember, he would get up early and drive from our house in the suburbs of Chicago into the city. Chicago traffic sucks. People bitch about Milwaukee traffic sometimes, but traffic in Milwaukee is nothing like traffic in Chicago. The 40-mile trip takes you an hour on a good day and 2 or more on a bad one. Regardless of what kind of day it was, he would get up and go. I remember being 16 and thinking I wanted to do something nice for him. He became an electrician a little later in life when my brother Jack was born. I'm the oldest of 5 kids, and having 5 kids means you have to spread the money out 7 ways. We weren't poor, but we weren't rich either. He grew up fixing cars, and one of the curses of someone that fixes cars is you feel obligated to fix your car. I've got that same problem, which is why I hold on to cars longer than most people and end up fixing them on the side of the road. When you do that, you keep something going instead of buying something new. When I was 15, he bought a Jeep Cherokee. He loved that car. It wasn't new, but it was a lot newer than anything else we had. It was summer, and I wanted to wash my truck, so I figured I would wash his Jeep. I'd picked up some of this stuff that makes the wheels look like they're wet all the time, and I sprayed it on the tires of his Jeep. He didn't like it. It was fine, but he didn't like it. It wasn't like he made a big deal about it, for sure. But I knew he didn't like the way that it looked. He preferred something different. Sometimes when you do something for someone that you think that they will like, the opposite of your intended outcome ends up happening. It only took 17 years, but Meg and I have now sorted out what we get each other for Christmas. Most years we were married, she wanted to buy me things for Christmas. It's been a long time since I didn't already have something I wanted, so she had to take a guess on what to get me. Year after year, I opened stuff that I liked, but wouldn't have chosen to buy for myself. Finally, she made a declaration, I'm just going to buy you practical things. And she did, and I loved it. You really should. We get in this trap sometimes where we think we know what someone wants or what's best for them. You should really start running, or you should really try this recipe. The problem is we don't actually know what is best or better for someone else. The things that work for us might not work for the next person. In the pursuit of social justice, we want equality or equity, but what if equality or equity means different things for different people? How do we know what the next right thing to do might be? I went to a conference in California back in 2018. The heat went out in one of the rentals when I was there. In San Diego, the temperature was in the mid-70s, and in Milwaukee, we were in the single digits. The tenant called me and told me that the furnace wasn't working, and I was like 2,000 miles away. Furnace issues always show up at exactly the wrong time. It wasn't hard to figure out what he wanted. He wanted to not be cold. That was easy. The upper unit of the duplex wasn't rented yet, so I had Meg turn the heat up on the second floor unit. Then she went to the store and bought a couple of space heaters to add to the couple that I already had. That bought me some time, and I fixed the furnace when I got home. While I was at the conference, we learned about the design thinking steps or principles. They are empathy, define the problem, ideate, prototype, test, review, and repeat. This is the fundamental process for designing solutions to problems, and my neighborhood has a lot of problems that might have solutions. The deeper you understand a problem, the better your solution actually solves the problem. This applies to societal issues as much as it applies to buying Christmas presents or doing something nice for your dad. You can never know for certain if your solution is devoid of problems, but you can move confidently forward in your solution if you've done the work of understanding the problem. It only took 7 years of running 3 or more miles every day, but I do now identify as a runner. To identify as a runner, you should run or have run a bunch. I guess we call people who do social justice work or have done social justice work a bunch an activist or an advocate. During the time before I identified as a runner, and even now, I try to be a better runner. I listen to people talk about running, and I buy stuff to be a little better at running. Because it's part of my identity, and I want to be the best version of myself as possible, I do little things to get better at it. I haven't heard many people talk about wanting to be a better advocate or activist, but I think that time is coming. I'm a runner because I set aside time during my day to run. I'm a father because I have 2 kids, but I also set aside time in my day to do the things fathers do. I'm an education consultant because I spend time sharing my expertise on working with poor kids in schools, and I'm a house remodeler because I remodel homes. In the same way, I'm an activist because I spend time trying to make the world a better place. If I watch TikToks to learn how to do plumbing, I wonder what the corollary is in terms of becoming a better activist. When Meg and I do a podcast, that's in the back of my head. How can I share insights on how to be an activist or give advice so that other people can become better activists? And the first thing I would tell someone is the design thinking principles. Social justice work is highly situational, much more so than running or plumbing. You're trying to put the world back to how it should be or could be, and the start of that process is identifying where things have gone astray. When I think about what we want to do at We Got This, we start with empathy. What's missing in our neighborhood that should be there, and is there something within our capacity that we can do to alleviate that deficiency? During the summer, kids aren't in school. They could go 10 weeks without doing anything positive or productive. There's a serious outflow of money within the neighborhood. People have to leave here to spend money, and kids are missing the opportunity to work at a young age, which was something I had the privilege of having growing up. We meet those needs by offering paid work to any 4th through 12th graders on a Saturday morning, and the work is designed to make the neighborhood nicer, another identified need within the community. The summer program is the test of the prototype, which is the plan we created in the winter, which we review in the fall to figure out what worked and what didn't. Meg approaches her web design work the same way. She has identified a need. People starting a small business can have their presence amplified and legitimized if they have a website. Access to a website can be challenging for a lot of people, not just the people in our neighborhood, and if she can make having a web presence accessible, she gives those clients a leg up. When she builds sites and works with clients who normally couldn't afford a website, or even ones that would find having a website inaccessible, she is doing the work of an activist. It is in that mindset that I believe anyone can be an activist, just like anyone who runs can be a runner. Activism follows a simple formula. It's like a Venn diagram, where on the left is your skills, and on the right is the needs that you see in the world. And anytime you use your skills to meet those needs, the overlap is activism. This isn't all that different than capitalism, which is where you use your skills to meet needs to gain money for yourself. If you are a dental hygienist and you go to work and clean people's teeth because you're excellent at what you do, you are engaging in capitalism, using your skills to meet a need and make money. Some people think activism is an all or nothing thing. Like you either spend all of your time doing the work of an activist or you don't. I used to think it was an all or nothing thing. I think differently about it now, though. I mean, to identify as a runner, you don't need to run a certain amount of your free time. You just have to run in some of your free time. There's no requirement on how much of that time you run, nor should there be. But the more you run, the more you are a runner. Anyone can be an activist. But how do you know if you're engaging in capitalism or doing the work of an activist? We used to go to church a lot, and sometimes when people go to church, they do this thing called tithing. It's when you give a part of your money as an offering to the church. The church spends the money on things like running the church and paying the utility bill. I used to tithe, and then I became a teacher. I have a bachelor's degree in mathematics. At the time, there were like 3 jobs you got if you had a bachelor's degree in mathematics. You could be a teacher, an accountant, or an actuary. Teacher was the more noble of the 3 professions, but they were paid the least. Accountants got paid better, but actuaries got paid great. I thought about being an actuary, but I couldn't do it. I didn't see how it helped people. Big companies need actuaries, usually to make more money, and I was never interested in helping a big company make more money. I wanted to help people, not companies. I think if you want to help people and not companies make money, you might be an activist. Once I became a teacher, I stopped tithing because I knew I made a lot less money teaching, and I could have easily been an actuary. It was a sacrifice on my part to do what I thought was more noble. I don't think I should get a medal or anything for it, but at the time I was convinced tithing was a good thing to do, and if I thought I should have done it, I would have. And I didn't feel that way because of something called opportunity cost. Activism and opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is found in almost every decision we make. Right now, I'm deciding if I want to have dessert, and if I do decide to have dessert, what will I have? Yesterday was our daughter May's birthday. She wanted an angel food cake, and there are strawberries and Cool Whip in the fridge. There's one piece left, and everyone already had a dessert, so I wouldn't even be taking it from anyone. The other option is ice cream. We have some of that chocolate syrup that gets hard when you squeeze it on top of ice cream. If I choose angel food cake, the opportunity cost of choosing angel food cake is that I won't get to eat ice cream. I'm not going to have two desserts. If you had a bunch of money and you decided you didn't want to invest that money, but rather wanted to keep it in your mattress, the opportunity cost would be the value of what that money invested could yield. If you invested the money, the opportunity cost could be a sense of security that the money won't go down in value. Opportunity cost could be found in your decisions around dessert, mattress money, or anything really. If you decide when you are young that you want to be a social worker, you are deciding to forego financial potential to help people. Social workers don't make a lot of money. It's like what teachers make. If you're a teacher, the opportunity cost could be thousands of dollars a year. But if you are an actuary, the opportunity cost could be the helping of people. Opportunity cost is what you give up. I hear teachers and social workers talk when they are burned out. Both teaching and social work have a financial opportunity cost, which sometimes doesn't outweigh the other costs associated with choosing that profession. Both jobs are hard and seem like they would be rewarding and are up to a certain point. Activism isn't easy, though. Activism is a foregoing of self for the sake of someone else. The point that those jobs stop being rewarding is when the stress and opportunity costs outweigh the benefits of knowing you're helping people. When choosing activism costs more than you would expect. Activism is when you decide to give up something to change the world. I recommend we use design thinking to figure out how you want to do your activism work. I think it's the only way to know that we are actually doing good. Activism follows a simple formula. See a need, understand the need, figure out a way to meet the need, create a plan to do the thing, and then do the thing, reflect, and repeat. Let's say you think the towel situation in the inner city is a problem. People do not have towels. Obviously, some people do have towels, but I'm sure there are some who don't or could use new ones. You hear a person express that need. Quickly, you ascertain that it is a felt need by the individual. Something inside your head clicks, and you realize how much it would suck to not have a towel. Then something else clicks, and you realize you have many towels and have an Amazon Prime account. When you go home at night, you enter towel into the search bar, find something decent, and hit the Buy Now button. A day and a half later, the towels show up in a box on your doorstep, and you bring it to the person who lacked towels. Later that night or the next day, you take a shower and use a towel to dry off and reflect on the fact that one more person has the ability to do the thing you are doing at that moment because of the action you took, which was enabled by your own empathy and level of financial access. No one would expect you to immediately start a nonprofit whose mission is to give out thousands of towels a year, but if you spent enough time around that need, you might find that to be a worthwhile endeavor. This situation is different from buying a dozen towels, finding the next person you see in the inner city, and handing the stack to them. They might already have plenty of towels. Activism requires design. If we don't use design, we end up doing things for people that they don't want or don't need. Anyone can be an activist. Anyone can change the world. All it takes is a giving up of something, usually time or some other finite resource, and that resource is focused on meeting a specific need you see in the world. The sticking points with activism are the time it takes to understand the need and the proximity required to identify it when it presents itself. I learned that from a man named Andre. He existed as a conduit or a connector between the need and someone else that could meet the need. He made it easier for more of us to be activists because of his proximity to people's needs and his ability to communicate those needs to the outside world.